Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 3 of Storytelling with Carrie. I am here with Jenny Beers.
There, close enough.
And she is a copywriter, and her brand is all about six-figure freelancers. So she's got some great insight into style and copywriting. And the reason I wanted to connect with her today is because so many writers are freaked out about writing. They're really stuck in their mindset on their elementary and grade school papers and their teachers telling them they're not going to be good writers and scratching out everything in red pen. The red pen syndrome is preventing entrepreneurs today from telling their stories. So let's get over that. So, Jenny, thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me, Carrie. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I know, me too. So tell the participants a little bit about your writing experience in your business.
Okay, so I have been a copywriter, freelance copywriter for 10 years. Basically, it's because I'm completely unhireable. I didn't have a shot at doing anything in a typical 9-to-5 or anything like that. So I kind of had to make this work. But my first love is playwriting. And so I found myself dropped out of college, waiting tables, writing plays, and completely broke. And with playwriting, you can have some success. You can be published or produced and still, eating off the dollar menu. And I was getting really sick of that. And I thought, why does someone have to validate my talent? Why does anybody else have to tell me that it's good before I can afford vacations, before I can afford to shop, before I can afford to do whatever? And so I started noticing words everywhere, back of shampoo bottles, product descriptions, and I was like, somebody's getting paid for this and it better be me. And so I just kind of jumped right in with 2 feet and I was like, I'm a copywriter. And I really talked my business into existence by just telling everybody that's what I did, really owning, that aura. And my copywriting business was born.
I love that. So yesterday we addressed the fear of sharing, and one of the 2 questions that I asked them to answer in our Facebook group, The Soulful Storyteller, is how does it feel to call yourself a storyteller? I feel like just owning that word in itself is you're able to flip your mindset around the fear of it and getting hung up in the words and punctuation and not saying the right thing at the right time. And so that's beautiful. I love that you did that for yourself.
Thank you. It's so true. And I think people forget that grammar and punctuation and, is it this there or that there? Is it lie or is it lay or whatever? That's not storytelling. That's why we have editors. That's why we have friends who aren't afraid to call us, on our stuff. The storytelling has nothing to do with the grammar. Once you put together a beautiful story, then you have it edited. That's why there's people who do that. But the importance is to understand the difference, that having great grammar is great, but that's not storytelling. It's not the same thing.
I love it. That's beautiful. Thank you for saying that. Yes, there's some punctuation things. There's some words that you need to understand the definition of, but the storytelling itself is on the energy of how you help the reader move forward in their life. And
absolutely.
So, that's awesome. So what are some tips that you've shared on the style, like writing style? Do you have, so often, like one of my things that I talk to my storytellers about is when I'm telling a story, I look at my story as an opportunity for the reader to enter into my eyesight. They get to see something for the very first time. What hangs me up is when the reader starts to use the story as a 2-way conversation and they start to actually address the reader and like question the reader and things like that. So that's one style thing that I do like to help writers avoid. This isn't a 2-way conversation. This is a invitation for you to share with the reader. Do you have anything like that?
Absolutely. I think I always tell people to, and this is something that's common, but it's easier said than done. You have to write the way you speak, because even though it is what you're saying, it's this conversation that you're putting onto the page. It's a conversation that you are having with yourself, that you are sharing with somebody else, that they're enjoying the other end of. So you have to write the way you talk. And I think so many people get hung up with, how does it sound? And if you could just keep in mind that you're having a conversation, then you'll just write the words that naturally come to you, and it will sound so much better than if you sat there thinking, okay, how do I channel Hemingway and make this sound appropriate? I think we try so hard to sound appropriate, to sound professional, to sound good enough. And that's not what storytelling is about.
I know. That's really good. I love that. We talk a lot in business, and, when you're working with mindset coaches and business coaches, a lot of it is progress, not perfection. Mm-hmm. And that's really what storytelling is too. It's showing insight into one specific area of your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The flip on the conversation piece is you're saying your story is a conversation that you're having with yourself and you're sharing it with the reader. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I can get that. I once had an editor, when I was writing a piece for Redbook, my editor told me that she hated it at first. She's like, no, I'm not publishing this. Keep on writing. And,
oh, no.
Because I was hiding in the story. I didn't want to show it. And she's like, our readers are your best friend, and you are sharing something super intimate with your best friend. This is not it. And so that's something else when you get into moving beyond the fear of sharing, and you're actually in the words itself and in your style. Finding your voice should be a natural thing, because it is just you and, your best friends.
It's true. And it's funny because a good editor will be able to spot that from a mile away when you're not bringing the true story, when you're not bringing your authentic self, when you're really hiding from it. And that's why I think the more mindset work that people do, the better their stories are, because they get comfortable uncovering those blocks and learning about what their micro actions are, understanding the reason they do or don't do those things. And then you just have more insight to bring to your story. And that helps you really talk to the people it helps you identify your niche in a much deeper way. Because someone that may not show up on when you're doing Facebook ads, they may not show up in the list, in the categories that Facebook gives you. But if you write something really intimate and deep and touching, that will help sift out exactly who you're looking for.
I love that. That's so true. So my specialty and style is vulnerability. Vulnerability of topic, vulnerability of words, vulnerability of emotion. That's really what I've grown into as a storyteller. When people are first starting, vulnerability can be a scary thing, right? But the mental mindset stuff and working with somebody to help you move through those fear blocks will help you find your voice even better. Easier.
Absolutely. And, as a writer, vulnerability was something that I'd have these plays produced, and I would get these great reviews, except it would be like, wish she would have gone a little deeper. And I used to write from this really surface level. I write comedy, and it was very funny. It was dark funny, but there was the part where you really could just cry for a character. I didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I could not handle going there. But it makes all the difference when you go there, because that's what people connect with.
See, I'm the opposite. I can do comedy, but pulling off comedy in written form is that's a talent. That's really, really hard. It is. I mean, some of you can't pick up sarcasm a lot, and so I'm the opposite, where I'm like, I don't know how to do the witty scenes, but I can talk to you about this deep, dark puddle she just fell.
That's so funny. And girl, I was running from that like you wouldn't believe. I was like, you want that? Go get Mammoth. That is not my, that's not my thing.
That's I spent I did in my late 20s, I had a writing partner, and he and I wrote a pilot to a sitcom.
Cool.
And spent some time in and out of LA working on that. And then we had, it was, what's the word I'm looking for? Where he showed interest. It was so long ago. It was like 10 years ago. I can't even think of the word. He showed interest in it, and he wanted to option it, I think is the word.
Yeah.
So he optioned it, and then he was given an opportunity to work on a Jerry Bruckheimer film. And so
nice. Oh, no.
He was like, I got something else to do. And I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm out. I can't. So I spent like a year and a half in that scene, back and forth with screenwriting. But style is so important, and so I think it's great. So do you have any tips for, do you have like real grammar tips that you give your clients at all?
I think we have this saying in screenwriting, which you've probably heard of. It's you can't be afraid to kill your babies.
Oh, geez. my God.
It's so terrible, but it's when you put something on the page, you can't be that attached to it. So my biggest tip is don't be afraid to edit, 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 and don't get discouraged. Just get the first draft of everything is crap. That's just the way it is. The sooner you accept that, the better, the further along you'll get.
Yeah.
Just accept that the first draft is probably going to be crap, but you're going to feel awesome. You're not going to feel like crap because you got it down. Then you cannot be afraid or get emotional and maybe do some mindset work around why does it hurt you so much to edit yourself? Because then you go through and you read it out loud, and then you read it 2 more times out loud. And anything you bump on, anything that makes you stick, like in a natural conversation, if it makes you pause, if it makes you stumble, the reader is going to stumble. The reader is probably going to stumble even more than you are. Cut it out, rewrite it, and then give it to somebody that you trust. I believe in hiring professional editors. I think it's really important that if this is not your strong suit, you only have, some of the people that you're going to be pitching to, you want to build a relationship with them, and you only have one first impression.
Yeah.
And so it's worth spending a little bit of money making sure that the piece is edited to a point where you're proud of, where you're comfortable. Because if you send it out with the energy that you're not confident in this piece, you're not going to hear back from anybody. That's just the way things work.
That was day one. Day one was all about being willing to share and being comfortable in your story, because story is energy. And if you're putting it out there and you're like this behind it, it's not going to land.
Mm-hmm.
I love how in sync we are.
I know, we're so in sync. And also, just in my personal opinion, I don't even tell people to worry about the grammar. Now with copywriting, because it is so very much conversational, there are some things that are like, maybe aren't grammatically necessarily correct, but it's the way a dialect speaks or it's the way someone else speaks. So those things get overlooked, especially when it makes the line shorter, because copywriting is all about short. But when you're writing your personal story, the one thing that I would say is make sure you can, wherever you can, infuse some humor, some lightness to it. Even if you're telling a really dramatic story that has a lot of dark twists and turns, and maybe it's this heart-wrenching thing, your reader needs a breath. You need a breath. And that humor is going to keep it light on its feet.
Yep. Yeah, that's something an editor once told me, is because I deal with a lot with burnout, and I'm talking about my fertility journey right now. And every editor that I work with that accepts something deep is always like, you've got to find a way to keep it high too. Break it up into several stories so you're not taking your reader down and making them wish they didn't read this to begin with.
Right. It isolates. The thing is, you want this to be an inclusive experience. It's about you, but it isn't all about you. It is about them. And if you're just facing the wall, talking to yourself, and it's just heavy, 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 you're isolating your readers. They're over here. So you don't want to alienate them. And a little bit of lightness, a little bit of humor, that goes a long way, keeping them engaged and keeping them invested in what you're saying.
True. I love it. And where we cross over is I work with people on personal storytelling, and you're talking about brand story and from both perspectives. And so what I want the audience to know is personal storytelling is a way to build a platform to pull people into your brands. And then once you have them here, having a strong brand story is just as important, so that they go off and they download your free thing, buy your service.
Absolutely. And they should recognize, so people that I've either worked with or know, have seen me in Facebook groups or have seen me online, they know that I started my business with $75, my last $75 in my pocket, as a frustrated waitress who is, mixing the decaf and the regular on purpose. That's what, and it's just a couple lines. Give yourself a tagline. Give yourself something that goes in that LinkedIn, bio. Give yourself something that you can just lead off with when you say that line, when you give. Nike and big brands aren't the only ones that have taglines. Solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, we can have taglines too. And so when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh yeah, you had $75 left to your name," and I'm like, never thought that would be something that I would have told the world.
That would stick.
That would stick, but it did. So think of a tagline for yourself. What would be a short tagline that represents where you were and where you are now? One line.
I use the line, I'm a recovered burnout a lot.
I love that.
Yeah. And so actually burnout, when I started writing about burnout in 2014, people still ask for time. And it's to the point now where I'm like, are you asking about storytelling coaching? Like, they're like, I just want to talk to you about burnout. And I'm like, all right.
Wow.
But that works. Yeah, for real. Well, we'll have to figure out a way to partner down the line. So that
I know. I love that.
experiences, brand story and personal story. I think that really fits.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what you said was so beautiful about how you build your platform with your personal story and then you scoot it on over and use it as your brand story.
It is. It's two extensions. Story is important, and we're on different sides of the ball field. You're
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're a good team.
Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, this is going out on day 3, so I'll be sure to tag you in our group.
Yay, I'm excited. Thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks. Bye.